Good evening, everybody. Thanks for watching this replay of Award Travel 101 Live. I'm your founder, Richard Kerr, and I got to tell you, I haven't been this excited about an Award Travel 101 Live, I don't think, to date. We're going to talk about something I am so passionate about, and I am only getting more and more passionate about as the weeks go on, because every time I turn the news on, every time I go to Twitter, somebody is raising their resort fees. 2018, and it is time to bring awareness to this issue. And it's time to bring it to a stop. So we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about it. I've got a wonderful subject matter expert here. And we're going to go through the regular intro material that I do. If this is your first Award Travel 101 Live, we start the show by going through current events in the group. We have a lot of great in-person events coming up. As always, I have one of my moderators working very hard in the background. Tony is here tuning in from Utah tonight. Everybody tell Tony thanks. She's making sure that this gets shared over into the group so we get as many eyes as possible on this conversation tonight. I want this shared. I want this retweeted. I want you talking about it at the dinner table, talking about it at work tomorrow, because it's really quite amazing what they're trying to pull over our eyes every single day. And we just don't have to put up with it is the amazing thing. Let's go through a few events right now while Tony gets this shared over. Hey, really excited. The months are getting busier. Things are picking up. You guys and gals have asked for in-person events. And we have a lot going on. I'm going to make sure that this gets shared over really quick into the group. I'm going to go in reverse chronological order of what we have going on. First is Frequent Traveler University. This is June 9th and 10th in New York City. This is where we have our most members actually from Award Travel 101, about 4,000 of you in New York City now. Tony's going to share the link over into the comments, or you can just Google Frequent Traveler University. I'm just playing around with a few technology glitches first as we go through. Here we are. Tell Tony I got it. All right, Frequent Traveler University, June 9th and 10th, New York City. Tony's going to share the event. Two-day event. I'm speaking twice, once on Saturday, once on Sunday. This is really more of the advanced level material. A lot going on here. If you're a newbie, a beginner, I'm not sure it's best for you. But if you really want to get addicted to points and miles, this is a great place to come, hang out for a weekend. And I really can't think of anywhere else better to hang out for a weekend than in Manhattan. Next, we have Vegas. Memorial Day weekend, Zork Fest. If you want to know what a Zork is, don't ask me. I have no idea, but you're going to remember it. This is bringing the best of casino, comp, gaming experts, people who really know how to get the most out of every single Vegas trip, and pairing it with the most skilled award travel experts, putting it together for a weekend. You're going to learn how to maximize your craps bets. You're going to learn how to maximize your hotel stays. All in one single weekend. Really excited about that. Tony's going to share this into the comments. Memorial Day weekend, use promo code Zork Award Travel 101 for $10 off those early bird tickets. Only about 7 days left for that. Finally, our brand new event, the Award Travel 101 Boot Camp. This is happening in Orlando at the Hyatt Place Orlando Airport on April 29th, a Sunday. 4 hours intensive, starting from the ground up. You're going to come hang out with me and Tony in Orlando. We're going to tell you everything you need to know about getting your feet wet, doing this the right way, protecting your credit score, never carrying a balance, and maximizing all of it into amazing award travel. It can be a fire hose of information. If you're trying to figure this out by yourself, it's really tough. Come hang out with us for Sunday at the Award Travel 101 Boot Camp. Tony's going to put this into the links as well. All right. With that, let's talk about resort fees. I want to make something very clear. I am not anti-business. I am not anti-profit. What I am against is translucent, opaque pricing that is designed to take advantage of consumers, particularly those that do not travel often and think that these are some kind of mandatory taxes that the local or federal or state government are making consumers pay. Let's be clear, and my expert is going to be perfectly clear about this. This is a tax on the ignorant. This is an illegal fee to pad the pockets of the hotels. This prevents them from paying higher commissions to travel agents, and I'm not okay with that. I want hotels to make as much money as possible, but I want the fair market to decide what that price is, and I want consumers to know what they're going to have to pay when booking a hotel. If the hotels say enough of this resort fee nonsense, we're going to include it in the room rate, then that's fine. If it's too high, the fair market will decide it's too high and the public won't book it. If it's not too high, the public won't care. They'll appreciate the transparency. They'll book the hotel rooms and the hotels will make money. I'm perfectly okay with that. I just wanted to be clear and upfront from the beginning. So about 3 weeks ago, actually maybe a month or more ago, I was cruising Twitter and I came across this amazing handle that immediately caught my eye. Kill Resort Fees. Simple, to the point. I know exactly what they're talking about. And I immediately followed, reached out, found the website and thought, okay, there's actually what I suspected all along is true. This is probably not okay what these hotels are doing. There's an expert behind this. And with that, I'm going to bring in Lauren Wolfe, Esquire, as my guest for tonight. Lauren, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing tonight?
I'm well. Thanks for having me.
You know what? Sometimes, like we were just talking about, fate happens, and finding that Twitter handle was amazing, following some of your stuff and reading your site. And then Lauren and I had a great pre-chat last Friday where I learned a little bit about her and why this is such a big deal and what she's doing to educate the public. So Lauren, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what you're doing now for a day job.
Yeah, so I'm Lauren Wolfe. I'm here in Washington, D.C. I have a bit of a background in politics, and I went to law school. So when I went to Key West and was charged a resort fee, I was shocked. And then I came back and said that, we got to put an end to this. And that was in February 2 years ago. So February 2016. I've started the website, Kill Resort Fees, started to get active on Twitter and Instagram with the Kill Resort Fees handle. And ever since then, I've been following and working on this issue. I actually followed and worked on it so much that then I started working as a lawyer at Travelers United, which is a travel consumer advocacy group. So we fight for transparent, fair pricing on all things travel, not just hotels, but airlines and trains and buses and all sorts of consumer-friendly travel policies.
Lauren, I'm going to throw my headphones on. Some folks are saying that we have an echo. I think you've got yours hanging around there too.
Yeah, I can do that. If I can untangle them.
That's why we have them standing by.
Okay.
So Travel Advocacy Group, where did you go to law school, Lauren?
I went to law school in the University of Detroit, so downtown Detroit. Good times.
Which state did you pass the bar for?
Michigan and DC.
Perfect. So while you get those headphones untangled, it's fine. Folks are saying it's better with my headphones in. It's fine. It happens all the time. Don't worry about it. You told me some really interesting stories.
I'm really sorry, but I got a new iPhone 10, and it doesn't.
That's fine. Folks are saying it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that is better. So tell me the couple of episodes that you had that really caught your attention with resort fees and why it became such a big deal to you.
Yeah. So when I went to Florida, I went to visit my parents, and we decided to have just a little road trip. My parents obviously are not computer people. They're a lot older than me. And so I took the initiative to book a hotel room. I've booked a lot of hotel rooms in my days. And so, I went on hotels.com. I booked a room at the DoubleTree by Hilton in Key West. And all we were doing was sleeping there because we were going down for the day to see Key West, and then we were driving back. It said paid in full. It was $400 a night. I know that you're going to Key West in February. It's going to be $400. So when I got to the hotel to check in with my parents, they told me that I would need to pay $20 to get the room key. And I said, but literally here is the receipt. It says paid in full. And they said, well, there's a resort fee. And I said, well, this isn't a resort, it's a DoubleTree. And we're not interested in any of these things that you claim are being paid for with this resort fee. And it says right here that it's paid in full. So I obviously did not think that was okay. I was forced to pay the $20 to get the key because they refused to give me the key without paying an extra $20. And I, after that, vowed to basically end this practice based off of my experience at that DoubleTree. And right after that, I actually also went to Miami, because we went down to Key West and then we came to Miami. I was also charged a resort fee at the Hyatt Centric. And both of those fees, I, of course, was able to get back. The DoubleTree, I just wanted to see what the options were. So for the DoubleTree by Hilton, I sued them in small claims court in Washington, D.C. Because it's a national brand, there's jurisdiction everywhere. So you can just go to your local small claims court, which is very easy. You do not need a lawyer. And I filed a claim against them, and Hilton sent me a check for the resort fee and for the court costs of filing. Then at the Hyatt Centric, I just disputed it with my credit card, which is a Starwood Amex. So they gave me back the money. I said, I didn't sign up to pay. This isn't part of the advertised price. It's not a mandatory tax. This is fraud. I just want to say this is all travel advice. It's not legal advice, but it's definitely news you can use.
So when you disputed the charge with Amex, was that via secure message, or did you give them a call and give them the background?
I gave them a call.
Okay. That's interesting to know. I think some people, and we'll talk about it at the end, are going to try and repeat that. Me specifically, that's really interesting when you told me that you could dispute the charge and that you won them. So pretty exciting about that. Getting into kind of the nitty gritty a little bit, what legislation makes you believe that resort fees are illegal?
So every state has a Consumer Protection Act of some sort or another. Since these fees kind of got out of control, and I don't want to say started, because people have seen them in Florida and Hawaii even in the 90s, but have totally gotten out of control in Las Vegas. I think we can easily use Nevada as an example. And Nevada has the Deceptive Trade Practices Act. It's kind of their general consumer protection law that says how people can set prices and how you can't, prey upon people with creepy pricing like resort fees. And so actually, if you look right now at the Nevada Deceptive Trade Practices Act, it says you can't make false or misleading statements of fact concerning the price of goods or services for sale, lease, or reasons for the existence and amounts of price reductions, which is basically you can't make false or misleading statements of fact about the price of goods. That is the law of Nevada. Another thing that I think is interesting is a lot of people are talking about if you have points or if you have a comped room in Vegas, which is very common, people are saying that the hotels are giving them comped rooms or giving them free rooms with points, but then forcing them to actually pay money because of the resort fee. So that's also illegal according to the law. According to the Deceptive Trade Practices Act, it's 58.0915, and that says here, advertises goods or services as being available for free of charge, but actually there's intent to require payment of undisclosed costs of the conditions of receiving those goods or services. So that would be, that is literally the law. I just read it, and that is happening all the time in Las Vegas with comped rooms. And is now happening also in New York City a lot, also with resort fees and points.
So when we talked about this last Friday, I asked you the question very clearly in the language there, it's against the law. But because of, as you described, the political atmosphere in Nevada, the attorney general and governor are not going to enforce this law.
Yeah, basically Nevada has chosen to not enforce their own laws because the politicians are in the pockets of the hotel lobby. The hotel lobby has, and the gambling lobby, have very actively lobbied and bought the politicians of the state of Nevada to the point where they're not enforcing their own laws. They're on the books about this, and it's really a problem.
Has anybody, to your knowledge, filed a lawsuit in Las Vegas?
There's been a lot of lawsuits that have been settled. There's also some lawsuits that exist for kind of other interesting issues. One of my personal favorite ones is that there's a law called the Internet Tax Freedom Act, which says how you can tax the internet. And basically, you can't specifically tax internet access. So when your resort fee is claiming to provide internet access, but then is taxed hotel occupancy or sales tax, that's not legal. So there's a lawsuit right now by the people are going against the Wynn Hotel That's been filed in Nevada, and I'm really curious to see what happens there. Also, on my blog recently on Kill Resort Fees, I talked about how in New York City, they even very blatantly lay it out that you cannot tax internet access at hotels. Tell that to the hotels, because that is what they're doing. And certainly they're doing it when they put it in a resort fee. So it's kind of an interesting issue of how these hotels are just lying all over the place. And it's just up to us to kind of challenge it right now.
So the FTC, as I understand it, is a regulating body for laws of Congress. And if you make a complaint to the FTC that somebody is not following a law, they are supposed to enforce it. So far, that has not been the case. But has the FTC made an official stance or statement on resort fees, or are they just kind of giving it the stiff arm?
The FTC is sure not doing a lot on resort fees. We have on the Kill Resort Fees feedback and the Twitter, there are people from all over the political spectrum that are against resort fees. Frankly, I think everyone's against resort fees except the hotel and gambling lobby.
Sure.
So it is not, frankly, the FTC under Obama did a few things. They could have done a lot more. And we have not seen anything so far from the new FTC. During Obama's FTC, there were a few things that happened. In 2012, they did say that hotels could have resort fees if they were disclosed. Then in 2017, right before the transition, they released a report saying that resort fees were harmful to consumers. I've talked with people at the FTC or people who know people at the FTC who are trying to tell me what's going on. And basically they wanted to be able to do more, and they never kind of got around to it. Surprise, surprise, it's not always easy working with or being the federal government, and they don't exactly move very quickly. So not a lot has happened there other than them in 2017 releasing a report saying that resort fees are harmful to consumers.
I went and found that report. If you do a quick Google FTC resort fee report, it's actually a very interesting read, even if you just get through the preface and the cover letter where they very clearly say these are harmful to the consumer, which makes you think, okay, well, if only you guys were supposed to fix it, which you are. But that doesn't surprise any of us, seeing as the federal government moves. To your knowledge, is there any legislation in process in any state or the federal government that you think has a legitimate shot at doing something about these fees?
Yeah, so there's two things. Before I talk about the legislation, just really quick, there's 47 attorney generals have an investigation right now into hotel resort fees for being misleading and deceptive. And the misleading and deceptive comes from that language that I just read from these consumer protection laws of the state, which the attorney generals are usually in charge of enforcing. So 47 attorney generals, which is actually 46 states plus the attorney general from DC, are investigating this. However, we don't really know what's going to happen with that. And we aren't even supposed to know that they have an investigation. The only reason that we even know about it is because they had to subpoena Marriott because Marriott was refusing to cooperate with a 47 attorney general investigation, which is crazy. So that's actually where we know about that. So we don't actually know what they're planning or what they're doing. We would have never known this if they didn't have to subpoena Marriott, which makes it public record. So that's issue one. So the attorney generals are doing something. Like I said, it's Democrats, it's Republicans, it's a wide range of attorney generals from across the country. We don't know who the 4 states are who didn't join, but
Nevada, perhaps?
I'm going to take some wild guesses and say they're states that have been bought by the hotel lobby. So that's the attorney generals. In terms of legislation, in 2016, a bill was introduced by Senator McCaskill from Missouri that would have basically forced the FTC to say that resort fees were illegal. It really didn't move far. It's very hard to move things in Congress. Maybe you've seen Congress.
Sure.
It's hard to move anything there. So I don't think it says one way or another anything about resort fees, frankly, other than there's a lot of bills that introduced and don't go anywhere. So we are actually at Travelers United working on hopefully reintroducing that with Senator McCaskill's office. Another thing that's happening is because it is very hard to work with the FTC, it is very difficult to move things in the U.S. Senate. and actually get them to become law on a federal level, we're now looking at states. And so we're hoping to pass legislation in states that are not controlled by the hotel lobby. And then hopefully once a few states start to do this, it will put pressure on other states to pass similar laws.
So we actually have some pretty interesting group members tuning in tonight. I know a couple specifically whose parents are local legislators in the state governments, Wisconsin for one, which I'm aware of the Wisconsin Dells and the resort fees that everything up there in the Wisconsin Dells adds on. Is there any kind of model legislation or something you could tell these people, or even more specifically at that local level where I agree with you that there's more chance on a state-by-state basis to get something done? What do you recommend that those people do or that we do at the local state level to get something going here?
Yeah, I mean, just email me. I'm happy to work with you guys. I have legislation for a few different states, and if I don't have one for your state, I can work it out.
So if you just go to KillResortFees.com, they have an email address listed there. You also need to go a lot of information, a lot of things that lay it out pretty clear that this is in violation of fair pricing acts from a state-by-state basis, and then what you can do. So, Lauren, let's really get down to the nitty-gritty here. I'm going to ask you, first of all, on the next award stay or the next hotel stay for an Award Travel 101 member, what do you recommend we do to not pay that resort fee?
Yeah, I mean, I would, first of all, you can always just ask politely at the front desk. I don't think that works well anymore, but you can always try. And I do think that pointing out that you do not think this is fair, every single person should do that. Then I would say you should immediately call your credit card company and dispute the charge. And then I would also, make a note, keep your hotel bill. And then I would also file a report, a consumer complaint with the FTC and with the Attorney General of the state that you're in. So if you're in a state like New York, say, where they're exploding in New York City right now, make sure to file a consumer complaint with Attorney General Eric Schneiderman. He is, I think that he's open to the issue of resort fees. And I think that his office would want to know. I think that most states would want to know. If you're in Florida, if you're in Texas, if you're in Arizona, make sure to contact those attorney generals and let them know what you think. It's their job to enforce the laws that exist that I told you about. So tell them.
Just a shout out for Georgia Award Travel 101 members. You remember the screenshot I shared about a week ago for the Great Wolf Lodge that's opening in my hometown of LaGrange, Georgia. And I found roughly a 28% taxes and fees that were being levied on there that were not disclosed anywhere that I could find for what it included. I reached out to the local government. They said the tax rate on that property is 8%, which means 20% is being tagged on and going somewhere into the pockets of the Great Wolf Lodge. So I reached out to the Great Wolf Lodge. I said, I think this is wrong. I've talked to local government. You've got this broken down as taxes and fees. What are you going to do about it? They promised me a week ago that they were going to email me what the breakdown was. I still haven't heard from anything. Tonight is just the first step in building awareness for everybody and asking those questions like Lauren just recommended. Going to your local authorities, filing complaints. If you just Google FTC complaint or you go to KillResortFees.com, she has a process broken down. It takes 5 minutes. It is super easy. We have to get the voices out there. We have to get these things filed. We have to make everybody aware that this is just ridiculous. We're not going to put up for this anymore. I don't mind paying the money. I want to know what I'm going to pay up front. Yeah. We're not anti-business. We're not anti-profit. We're anti-taking advantage of people who don't know what resort fees are, who don't travel often. Even ourselves, with places like the Great Wolf Lodge, doing a really, really bad job of making it transparent that, hey, we're just padding this an extra 20%. That's not okay. So I've got a few questions coming in for you, Lauren, from the commenters here. I have not read these, so I'm going to read them together with you. So Ryan says, hey, Lauren, if I have to pay to fight the resort fee, what language should I look for on the receipt that helps me prove my case to the credit card? What if the charge isn't listed as resort fee?
Yeah, just definitely save your bill. Sometimes it's an amenity fee. Sometimes it's a destination fee. Sometimes it's an urban fee. If they're putting it in as a tax, that's also a serious problem. And a lot of places do that. There's the Grand Spa Resort or something of Arizona, which is a very large hotel, and they have it listed as a tax. I mean, this is unreal stuff that they're trying to pull over our eyes. So make sure to save that and send it to your credit card company to dispute. You got to just take the whole bill.
I would imagine in a situation like that, the local municipality would not be okay with that. If you're a citizen that goes and says, hey, look, I got taxed this, are you guys getting it? Surely the city would say, yes, that's not okay.
Yeah, and actually, it's kind of interesting because in Nevada, I think the hotels knew that at least if we're going to have this crazy fee, we should tax it at the same rate as a hotel room. So in Nevada, as far as we've ever seen, but seriously, let me know if something else is going on. All hotel resort fees are taxed hotel occupancy tax, which means they're treated and taxed as a second room rate, because that is a rate that is only for hotel rooms. So you pay 2 hotel rooms for one night. What's happening, we found in New York City, is really interesting, and it's that hotels that yesterday were $225 in Manhattan are today $200. They tax that hotel occupancy tax, which in New York is 14.75%, but then they're only taxing the resort fee at 8.875%. So they're losing 5.875% of taxes on that room rate, which in New York City hotels adds up real quick when there's 2,000 rooms in a hotel. So New York City, from our calculations from last year, which now have probably doubled in the amount of hotels in New York that have added it, they're losing about $10 million a year because of hotel resort fees. So this is an issue that New York City and New York State are starting to take a look at.
A couple of really good questions about jurisdiction and where you should file a complaint. Should you file the complaint about where the hotel is located, where the corporate hotel or corporate office is located, and then what do you do in the case of an overseas, like a Starwood property in the Grand Cayman that's charging a resort fee? Where would you file a complaint with that?
So if it was in Grand Cayman, you can still technically file where you are because they're advertising where you are. And if they're advertising in the United States and you're purchasing it in the United States, you can file just with your attorney general where you are. Again, it takes like 2 minutes. Just file a complaint. And this isn't anything serious. Don't worry. It's just like you're saying this is a formal way to be like, listen, I feel wronged. It's nothing beyond that. And so I think it's a great action to take. And then the people who should be enforcing these rules know that that's the case. And so actually, I can figure this out later, but in the European Union and Australia, resort fees are banned and they don't even allow it to be advertised like that. So I do wonder if people purchasing those packages probably have it somehow rolled into the price and they're just able to take advantage of Americans who don't have the same protections.
Is your ultimate goal to have the resort fee eliminated so that the prices are inflated, or do you want better transparency of the resort fees?
I mean, actually, I've seen in some hotels in Europe, they do have a resort fee, but you don't even know it because it's like part of the advertised price. So you only see the total advertised price. So we got to get to the point where we're only seeing a total advertised price because otherwise you cannot comparison shop for a hotel rate. And what we're finding is a lot of people are getting so frustrated trying to find a hotel in Las Vegas, in New York City, that they're just turning to Airbnb because that's at least a platform that they're familiar with in, say, Germany, and it's the exact same in the United States. Whereas they look at the hotel sites here, and it, says there's a $25 room in Vegas. They get to the booking site and it ends up being $75. And they're like, what just happened? Yeah. So we don't want to be driving people who don't want to stay in Airbnbs into Airbnbs. We should have the option of staying in honest hotels. It's just a problem of these hotels are using these fees to deceive people, to lure them in, to cheat taxes, and that's not right.
So commenter Jenny brings up a good point. How come this worked so well with the airline industry and putting it together, but not with the hotel industry? Why can't we crack this nut?
Yes, that is a great question. And so the answer is that the airlines are regulated by the Department of Transportation. The Department of Transportation has long had authority and has worked with airlines and consumer advocates like Travelers United, where I work. The FTC is supposed to regulate hotels, but there's not really been a lot of issues like this kind of before. And they haven't done a lot because it's a very different federal agency that they're dealing with, and they haven't taken a lot of action. So it's different, and there's just not a lot of people doing things there for this.
I think the Department of Transportation is a much more formidable organization compared to the FTC, just in my dealings from the consumer side of things. If you file a complaint with the DOT about a potential airline mistreatment, you get a pretty serious response rather quickly, whereas the FTC, not too much.
And the FTC does have a lot going on. People would be surprised what's going on there. All sorts of things are under the umbrella of the FTC. And I think that is one problem, is that they think maybe, I don't know, people think, oh, we're dealing with something more important here at the FTC. We're not dealing with hotels right now.
So let's do a quick recap. We're at the 30-minute mark. If you're going to stay at a hotel that has a resort fee, voice your concern at the front desk. If everybody who checks in tells the manager, I'm not okay with this, they're eventually going to have to listen, or they are going to at least get the message across that their consumers are not happy. Next, file a complaint with your credit card company. This was a second room rate that I was charged that is not okay. I would like to dispute this charge. Here's a receipt that says a resort fee, especially if you prepaid something like Lauren did that said paid in full, and then they hold the key hostage until you pay an additional $20. She had success with that. If you really want to go to small claims court, you have that state code that says, hey, fair pricing, no deceptive pricing. You can do that. It's a lot of work. You probably have to have a little bit of expertise to do it. Lauren was successful in taking Hilton to small claims court and getting them to send her a check for the resort fee plus court cost, which is absolutely amazing. If everybody starts to do that, they're going to have to pay attention. What I would tell you to do is, if you are able, number one, pick your hotel or resort that doesn't charge a resort fee. Reward the honest hotels out there. Again, love to see hotels make money. I'm going to reward the ones that are very clear and transparent with the pricing up front. That's going to do the most good. That's going to do the best in changing these people's minds. If they drop in business because you have a resort fee, I'm not going to go to your property. As award travelers, if you have Total Rewards Diamond status in Vegas, you will not get charged resort fees. If you stay at Hilton's using all points, you will not get charged resort fees. If you stay at Hyatt's with all points, you will not get charged resort fees. So keep that in mind. Lauren, I'm going to end with what we talked about just before we started, and that is my mission to begin a White House petition and get 100,000 signatures in 30 days. If you do that, the White House will give you a response within 60 days. So, Lauren, I am going to lean on your expertise in the vernacular and wording of this. We have some good people who have already volunteered at Award Travel 101 to be the leading voices of it, and we really just need your help in crafting the language on this. So I'm very excited to get that mission going. We're going to be writing about it on the Point Sky, on some other big websites. I know Kill Resort Fees is going to get the word out in every avenue that Lauren has. It's just not okay that they're, like Lauren said it perfectly, luring consumers in. I think about those who travel once a year in my hometown of Georgia, who go to the Great Wolf Lodge, who see literally everywhere in my hometown right now are advertisements for a $189 room rate for the Great Wolf Lodge. It's going to cost you $250 a night, not $189. Those parents, those family members, those guys and gals who work really hard, who save up for this, to be suckered into an extra $70 a night is not okay. Put the fair price out there. Do what you're supposed to do. Have a little bit of ethics. And I'm okay with that. And people will decide whether to pay it or not. Lauren, thank you so much for taking the time here late on Tuesday night on the East Coast. Any parting words of wisdom for Award Travel 101 members?
Just make sure to challenge that fee.
Challenge the fee. Do not go silently into the night. Do not take it sitting down. We can make change. We're going to make it happen. A lot more to come on this. Big thanks to Lauren. Until next week, everybody. Same time, same place. Award Travel 101. Lauren, have a great evening, and I wish you all the best at KillResortFees.com.
Thanks.